We have been given the scientific knowledge, the technical ability, and the materials to pursue the exploration of the universe. To ignore these great resources would be a corruption of a God-given ability.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
El astronauta gira en la noche espacial circunvalando la luna dentro de su cápsula.
Playas verdeantes de algas marinas sobre las guijas de estridente diamante y flavocobre, piélagos preñados de la cálida voz de las sirenas.
Tiene hambre y no come, tiene sed y no bebe, tiene sueño y no duerme.
Piélagos en su susurro, trenos de nada deriva por sus senos procelosos, y que ya dormirán en las ondas serenas. Yo anhelo tus planicies, cielos, brumas, nieblas, y matuli, para ulular nuestros aucos. Yo soy Jara del obscuro.
El astronauta solo quiere hacer el amor y recuerda a una chica estupenda que vive en una calle de Houston, a quien los vecinos saludan cautelosos pero con cariño cuando sale al jardín a regar las matas en la calurosa tarde de este verano de julio.
Todos mis viajes son viajes de regreso. Yo retorno ahora del azur y hacia el azur. Violada luz guía prea sus rútilos zafiros, voz de sangre sus zafiros de nigra, mas no otro azur desea mi vagabundo sueño, solo ese azur cebrado de violas, ese azur ocelado de avenús.
How are you, Mrs. Collins? Mrs. Collins contesta, con una soledad como la bola de un cometa.
Hello everyone, I'm Jaime from Poesía Exorbital, and I'm going to begin to do this type of videos in English so that I reach more people all over the world and so that I get better at my English. This video is going to talk about the conundrum of the translator. But before I begin to explain what I think is the biggest conundrum for a translator, I think I want to make a small introduction for why I think it's important to talk about this. So it's not only the translation of the Odyssey or the Iliad of Emily Wilson that has forced me to begin talking like this. It's a lot of emerging stuff that we see with internet, and I think a lot of people is really angry, not only because the quality of culture and studies, the plagiarism themes are beginning to pervade all institutions. There's a lot of mediocrity, but we see that with the information. They're giving us a lot of really bad information. They are misleading us with information, and that makes me angry. And I think a big part of it is the translation of Emily Wilson. They are lying to us. They are lying to us everywhere, and they are lying so much as to try to falsify history. So I think all of us, we need to begin fighting all this. It's a war for the information, it's a war for the truth. And the Emily Wilson translation is a part of this war that is trying to teach us false things about the antiquity. And it's trying to give us a false idea of what Homer was and of what our civilization, Western civilization, is. The Homeric poems are really important for all of us, and we need to defend them, and we need to defend them with study and knowledge and truth. Okay, after this introduction, I'm going to begin talking about what I was saying is the conundrum of the translator. The biggest conundrum that a translator faces is what to convey of the book he's going to translate. With this, I mean you are going to have to choose between a lot of important things that you find in the original version of a text. In the case of Homer, you're going to find the ancient Greek text, and not only ancient Greek, but we're talking about archaic epic Greek. So it's a very complex and difficult language with a very complex grammar, a very complex morphology of verbs. So, and we're going to try to translate all the information in this language to Spanish or English. And the difference is not, as to say, it's not only a language difference. It's not the difference that you find with modern Spanish and modern English. You are going to find a very big difference with the way modern languages are and the way ancient languages were constructed. So you're going to find a really big gap between every modern language and every ancient language. This is really important to understand. So the translator is forced to choose between aesthetics always and meaning. Moreover, if we are talking about ancient text. So, for example, if I'm going to translate from ancient Greek and I have some images that I want, poetic images, aesthetic images that I want my reader to be able to see, I can find the precise words that will convey in Spanish those precise images, but I'm going to be forced to choose different words, and these different words in Spanish have different sounds, and the combination between them, they have a different rhythm. So if I'm able to convey that doesn't mean that the rhythm, the melody, and the sounds are going to be the same, and that doesn't even mean that they are going to be beautiful. And that's one of the biggest difficulties when translating poetry. You will be able to translate the meaning of the words, or maybe the image that the poet is trying to give to his reader, but you're not going to be able to convey the beauty of the structure of the sentence. We have to remember, in art, aesthetics and meaning are entangled together. When we talk about a scientific text or a historical text, those things are not matching. You don't need to have beauty in the scientific text. So if I'm a translator and I want to translate a scientific text, I don't need to give any aesthetics. It's enough if I'm able to translate the information. I just need to do that, and I have to write it right in Spanish. I have to do it correctly, but I don't need to give some aesthetics to that. Whereas in art, and moreover in poetry, we have something that is the same with aesthetics and meanings. We have something that you cannot dissolve. It's a unity. If you dissolve it, you are destructing it. And that's one of the biggest conundrum for a translator. When you try to translate poetry, you have to accept that you are going to lose a lot of beauty, But so the question is, how can I convey the more in my translation? How can I transfer the more information possible into the other language. How can I do that? So one of the things that the majority of translators do is that they decide to translate meaning over aesthetics. Why? Oh, it's really simple. We translators are not, and we will never be, as talented as the authors. And moreover, if we talk about Homer, we all have to take on account that Homer is not one person. We don't know who Homer was. We have no information about it. What our scientific inquiries conclude is that Homer is the distillation, the Homeric works are the distillations of more than at least 300 or 400, 500 years of oral singing of those poems. That means that when the Trojan War was over, we think that around 1200 before Christ, a lot of aedos, aedi, that's the Greek word for rhapsods. In ancient Greece, there were a lot of rhapsods that were singing the deeds of the heroes in the Trojan War and after the Trojan War. From that period on till the 1800 before Christ, 800 before Christ, there were a lot of aedos singing the deeds of the heroes of Troy. And then in the 800 before Christ, we think that appeared one very important aedo that created from this tradition the big poems of the Odyssey and the Iliad. But this is a supposition. And 300 years after that, in the tyranny of Pisistrato, the tyrant of Athens, in the 530-40, around that time, we think that the Odyssey and the Iliad were transcribed into papyrus for the first time. So we can accept that. The thing is that when we talk about Homer, we are talking about a text that was sang and worked for more than 500 years. So we're dealing with a really superior talent. Okay, and that's a big problem, because that makes the work of Homer a really complex one. So if you read the Odyssey or the Iliad, you'll find that it's not only aesthetics what we find in those texts when you read it in ancient Greek. Aesthetics represent a part of the whole compound of the text. We will find other themes there. We will find a lot of mythology. We will find theology. We will find philosophy. We will find sociology. We will find the structure of society, traditions. We will find archaeology, so to speak, history. So the translator has to convey everything, and we will find a genre of poetry, that's the epic. And the genre epic, it has some characteristics. So if you're a translator, you want that your reader, the reader of Homer in the language that you are translating to, will get the more amount of information from the poem as possible. So one of the problems of concentrating as a translator in aesthetics is that, first of all, you're not going to be able to do the aesthetics of Homer. You need a lot of talent for that, first of all. So you're most probably fail in that. And second, if you concentrate yourself in that, you're forgetting about a really high percentage of all the information that you will find in the Homeric poems. So what translators normally do when we talk about Homeric poems, and even when we talk about poetry, they prefer to leave the aesthetics, the rhythm, the melody, the harmony of words aside a little bit, and they try to concentrate themselves in transmitting to the readers the information so that the readers can understand what they are reading, what the ideas of the poem were, what the context of it, and what the genre was. Okay, so for example, if I omit an epithet in my translation that are a really important part of the Odyssey, my reader is going to miss, he's going to miss the significance of the mythological heroes or the significance of the mythological deities of the gods by omitting that. And if I omit that, maybe he's going to miss the importance of epithets in epic poems. If I change the tonality of the words, meaning if I use more colloquial words in my translation, the reader is going to miss the fact that epic poetry is made with this type of greatness. If I use colloquial words, he's going to miss the nature of epic gender, and the nature of epic gender is to use, great sound-like words, words that sound epic, great, that is what he's going to miss. If I miss the exact description of a job that appears in the Odyssey in my translation, the reader is going to imagine differently the society that is described in the Odyssey or in the Iliad. That's okay. So that's the conundrum of the translator. And this is a small introduction for our further analysis of the translation of Emily Wilson. And I will invite everyone to come and see it, because it's really interesting, because this theme is really important for all of us. How to learn to fight the misinformation and how to learn to search the truth. Because the reason why Emily Wilson did what he did with her translation is because the culture now thinks that the truth doesn't exist, that everything is relative. And this is one of the biggest things that we have learned from the antiquity, the search for truth. So now we are going to search the truth in Homer, and we are going to fight this mediocrity and these lies that a lot of ideologues are trying to pour into our beautiful Western culture. Have a nice day. Give a thumbs up, give a follow, and let's continue this investigation. Have a nice day. Bye bye.